Welcome, I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. Later in the program, we're going to talk about open records laws and why Colorado needs some help in that. But first, do you have a kid in school? Do you need a little help with your kid in school? To talk about that, from our Independence Institute, Pam Benigno, who runs our Education Policy Center, and from down in the Springs Parents Challenge, Deborah Hendrix. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, let's start off a little bit about Parents Challenge, which is an incredible organization. How do you describe it?
So I describe it as an organization that really helps parents make decisions regarding where their children should go to school. Because I don't know what school is best for your child, and so we help parents decide what's going to work for them, whether it be private, traditional public, charter public, or homeschool.
Well, when you say help them decide, what exactly does that mean, help them decide? You hand them an envelope and it says, here's the name of the school you should go attend, or what is help?
We actually utilize some of the Independent Institute's information regarding school choice. Take them to the website. We have them research schools. We have them determine what their child needs. So if their child is artsy or sports oriented or special needs, whatever it might be, we help them to decide what's going to work for their children. So we ask them to really pick a school that's in their child's best interest, not because it's the neighborhood school or everybody in their family went to that school or they've always done it that way.
But you're missing out on one really important thing that helps. There's a little something else that you help them with sometimes.
We provide them a little financial assistance.
You help them out with scholarships if need be.
Absolutely.
And those scholarships go to the parent for them to use how they need it.
Yes, yes. So it can go towards tuition for those that are going to private school. That's typically what they want to use those dollars for. But it can also help with curriculum, tutoring, technology in the home, sometimes transportation when they're traveling to take their kids to different schools.
Every family has a very different situation.
Absolutely.
It's not one size fits all, which brings us to the website that you have worked on.
This is the 10th year of School Choice for Kids.
Really?
.org. 10
wow.
years.
Explain that, because this has been a resource, and I've just been amazed how many people this website has touched.
Well, it has all of the schools in the entire state, all the public schools, all the public options, including public options such as charter schools. It has all the private schools. As Deborah mentions, it helps parents find what the best school for their children might be, a particular learning style that they might have. They can put in their address and find a school that's close to them. They can we've added a new function, and the whole site is brand new now, and we've added a new keyword search. So if you want to find all the Montessori schools in the state, you can do that now, or you can put your address in and find Montessori schools that are close to you.
It's pretty amazing. Inside the government system, and hopefully starting more and more outside the government system, there's a lot of choice that people don't quite realize.
Absolutely.
Including charter schools, and people still get a little confused on charter schools. Help me out, because we keep hearing about these privatized schools, and that's not true.
Charters are public schools. There's no tuition to go to a charter school, and they have their own governing body, so they can fire and hire their teachers. They can develop their own program. They have to be authorized by a school district or a state authorizing organization, which we have in our state. We have, they're now making up more than 12% of the public school population. We have 238 charter schools in our state.
Hang on a second, that's a pretty impressive number, because I remember when this started, what was it, a little over 20 years ago, that the idea of charter schools, we were told this was going to be an awful thing, it was going to destroy public education, it was going to be bad for kids. You're telling me 12% of all, 12% of all kids in Colorado going to a public school are going to a charter?
That's right. Actually, it's almost to 13% this year.
Would that make the largest school district if it was all in one district?
Probably so. Yeah,
wow.
115,000 kids. That would be the largest school district if it was one school district.
When people say it's private, what is, or it's been privatized, or it's corporately owned or corporately run, what's your response to that?
They're public schools. That's it. They are public schools. Public money totally funds them. They are accountable. They have to take the same state assessments that everybody else has to, and they have to meet the same standards.
what's fascinating, though, is there seems to be more and more organizations like Parents Challenge. How long has Parents Challenge been around?
We've been around 17 years.
And the idea is not only to help kids find the right public school choice, but also if it's a private school, you help them out with that.
Absolutely.
How many kids are in your program?
So this year we'll have about 135 students, over 80 families that we're working with. And when we say we work with those families, our parents attend monthly parent empowerment sessions
What does that
where we
mean?
help them. Well, we want them to be able to advocate for their children, and sometimes there are some special circumstances or needs that their kids might have. So we want them to know how to navigate the educational system and know what questions to ask, what resources to look for. And some parents don't know how to do that.
The name Parents Challenge is a very deliberate name, isn't it? I mean,
Yes.
what is the challenge for parents in Parents Challenge?
Many times just to know what to do. How do I help my child be successful? And so the challenge sometimes is they're scared to walk into the doors because they hear the educational acronyms and all of that, and they get confused, and they sit there in parent-teacher conferences and they nod
Education
their
talk.
head.
I know education
Yeah,
talk.
and they walk
yeah.
out of there and they say, I don't know if my kid's doing well or not. And we try to minimize that for them by educating them on the terminology.
Where do you get your money?
Well, we get our money from individuals like you, John.
I've never given you a dime, lady. No, but
We
these
get
are
it from
contributions.
Private for individuals as well as foundations. That's who funds Parents Challenge. We don't receive any federal or state dollars.
These scholarship organizations, they're growing in size and in number, aren't they? And the idea is to help families have other choices outside of government schools, right?
Yes, and we have 3 others in Colorado. We have ACE scholarships, Seeds of Hope, and the Challenge Foundation. They're all very different. They have their own way of doing things. The other 3 are in Denver. Deborah's organization is in Colorado Springs.
And just like private schools, these organizations have their own guidelines, their own way of doing things, and it's worth checking out all of them, right?
They're scholarship granting organizations that help with tuition assistance for parents to go to private schools. And they all have their own, caps on how much a scholarship might be. But there's never enough money. So there are always kids
Absolutely.
that need a scholarship that don't receive them. So we need more donations to scholarship granting organizations.
Towards that idea of getting more money, there are a lot of states that incentivize people to give money to organizations like Parents Challenge or ACE. It's a tax credit. Explain that to me.
So we call it a scholarship tax credit. There are 17 states that have already passed something like what we've developed as a proposal, where depending on the state, corporations, individuals, maybe both, give a donation to a Parents Challenge type organization, and rather than just a tax deduction, they receive a tax credit which comes off of what they owe, and that's much more of an incentive to give. For instance, in Georgia, they have a cap of $58 million, and they reach it on January 1. $58 million.
I mean, people give $58 million.
Well, between the corporations and the individuals, they meet the cap on that day, January 1. All of that money is going to help parents find the best school for their child, which may be a private school. In Colorado, the program that our coalition has put together actually would save the state money.
All right, this one you need to walk me through, because I keep hearing this, and I think I understand it. The idea is if the state gives me money to incentivize me to give money to Parents Challenge, somehow that's going to save the state money. It seems counterintuitive because the state is going to give me the money back. I mean, that up to whatever amount, it's a tax credit. So I give money and I get a big part of that back from the state. The state has to lose money.
Well, you never actually give the money to the state, all right? You're
You give
giving
the
it
money
to Parents
to Parents
Challenge,
Challenge.
and then you get a credit off of your taxes. So the state never had your money, and that's important because this is not a voucher program. And so the program we've developed is that a child would need to leave the public school, so the state no longer has that liability. And let's just say the program was going to be, half of whatever the state would have spent on that child, that the average scholarship would be that amount. So obviously the state's going to save money because they're not paying for that child to go to school any longer.
What's the average scholarship you give?
Up to $2,000.
Up to $2,000.
And some organizations give $6,000, depending on the school, $2,000, $3,000. So they all vary.
But the average operating cost to get a kid through a greatest school in Colorado is about $8,000, if not more, right? That's just on the operating side.
On the average, yeah.
On the average. So in other words, if the state helps incentivize to give $2,000 here, it's saving $8,000 worth of expenses. It's $6,000 ahead.
Correct.
Right,
Because right now it's about.
Because I went to a
about
Catholic
8,000.
school, and I can do that kind of arithmetic.
Yeah. The average
good,
per
Jon.
pupil revenue this year is somewhere around, I don't know, $7,500.
Okay.
So,
All right.
yeah.
So
tuition, a scholarship would have to average about half of that.
All right. This amazes me in that we also give tax credits for other things. For instance, if you buy yourself a $140,000 Tesla, the state will give you $5,000 in tax credits. So in other words, if you buy yourself a toy, a sports car, you get $5,000. But if you take that money and you give it to a charity, a scholarship program, you don't get a tax credit. We obviously
You get a tax credit, but it's not benefiting you personally. You're not going to drive off in it.
Right. No, but right now as it is, I don't
right
get
now.
a tax credit. I don't get a tax credit
You're
if I
right.
give you money.
You're right.
If I buy myself a toy, I'm a rich guy and I buy myself a toy, I get $5,000 in cash. If I give you money to help working poor kids, I get nothing.
Yeah, and 17 states are doing this.
Right.
Colorado needs to do this too.
What does it say that the people here in Colorado, the lawmakers, value buying toys for themselves more so than helping out kids like yours?
Well, that's part of the problem in terms of education overall, is it's not about throwing money out there, but it's about supporting parents in their decision in terms of what's going to work best for their children. So if we can get businesses to provide more financial support, I wouldn't have parents on a waiting list.
Wait, how many parents do you have on a waiting list?
Probably about 300.
Hang on. You have 130 kids that you're serving now.
Correct.
But you have almost 3 times that amount asking for help.
Correct.
And the incentive Colorado gives is not to give to organizations like yours, but to buy yourself a Tesla.
Absolutely.
I love this. This is good stuff. 17 states are doing it. How's it working?
It's working well. Like I said, in Georgia, think about that, $58 million going to help kids, help families, parents.
Yes.
Kids are not all the same, right? And parents need to have more choice.
People want to learn more and learn about schools. It's
schoolchoiceforkids.org. ediswatching.org, Independence Institute. Go to the Education Policy Center. You can find out lots.
people want to find out information about Parents Challenge.
They go to parentschallenge.org.
Go figure that one. Ladies, thank you. Stay tuned.